Hello. Um, hello, Emmett. How are you? I'm just copying a couple of these links. How you doing, Kathy? Hello, Mal Bolgia, Carla, Mary. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I know it's last minute, but I've been obviously getting a lot of stuff going, and I just wanted to walk through where I'm at with some of this information. And for anybody who I have not responded to just yet, um, you know, please bear with me. I'm not doing it on purpose. I just, I'm trying to get this done as quickly as I can, and I'm trying to think of ways in which we can get it done faster. Obviously, everybody knows I have a business. I'm married. I have 5 kids, um, and uh, uh, and then I'm also doing the stuff that with my faith, because I think it's important during these crazy times. But I don't want to take my eye off the ball, which is this voter integrity stuff. The good news is that I've raised a decent amount of money so far toward the goal to get the new machine to do all this data for the nation. I'm going to be talking to some experts tomorrow in databases, because the database, once it gets built, is going to be over probably 150 million records, maybe 200 million records. And so I don't want to make a mistake, go too fast, buy the wrong type of hardware that can't handle the software. So I'm going to consult with a few different experts. As I mentioned on the Give, Send, Go, I'm going to be showing how the money was spent to some people that are, I guess, social influencers that can attest that they know who I am. I'm going to show them what I bought, but I'm not going to show everything for reasons of, I don't know if anybody out there is malicious and wants to undermine this. So, I gotta kind of walk a fine line with how much I share with what I'm doing for those reasons. But anybody who has contributed, they might get separate updates. I'm trying to figure it out, I guess, as I go. But the key to remember with this whole project is anybody who does any work with it or who volunteers time and helps, I'm not going to get paid for it. So any money I end up raising to do anything once this equipment's in place is going to be used to hire people to help with this whole project. So I don't want to take a single dollar. I'm just going to do the management out of my civic duty. I want to see this through. And as I mentioned in the Give, Send, Go, I'm getting the equipment to use for this. It's going to stay being used for this for the foreseeable future. I don't think this is a 1 year and done kind of thing. I wouldn't be surprised if I stay involved for years, if not a decade. I do think that this is that critical in terms of our national security. Our national identity is tied to voting. And so I've spent my whole career working on data sets, and as such, I know how to build alternative data sets and create different ways for people to see information that's embedded in the data. And frankly, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to kind of simplify, some of the output, so to speak, that it's more relatable. I am working with someone who's really good at visualization of numbers, who's going to be helping me record some videos as well as a series. And so I'm trying to incorporate everybody's feedback and make this more accessible, because there's no doubt the demand is just unbelievable for us to do something. Everybody's kind of waiting to do something, and I can understand why some people don't want to do this, because you got to be a little crazy. And I happen to fit that bill, because it's just you're getting hit from all different directions with people wanting to help, but then you also have to deal with people that are trying to undermine you, make up lies about you. I'm laughing because some of these comments about people thinking I'm making stuff up. It's just humorous to me. I happen to be in a profession where if you lie, you're out of business. Like when you manage people's money, if you lie, you're done. It's it. And so for me to, for someone to say, oh, well, you're lying about this, it's like, no, I would rather just not say anything than lie about what I'm seeing in the numbers. Now, granted, as I mentioned before, if the data is wrong, I can't do anything about that. Nobody can. That's fraud. And so, what part of this whole project, okay, so I know that was a long intro. So far, since yesterday morning when I posted this, I probably had about 300 to 400 people contact me about volunteering. I've only been able to probably respond in some way, accepting them on LinkedIn, looking at their information, looking at them, of about 150. It's extremely time consuming. And I want to kind of understand each person as to what they can do. And so I don't like to just do it willy-nilly and just say, oh yeah, this person's going to help. I'm trying to think through, how do we get everybody to stay engaged, stay motivated, be excited to see what we can all create together. And so I've started to set up those lanes, and I'm going to go over the remainder of the names, between today and tomorrow. Hopefully I get them all wrapped up by Tuesday, but more are coming in. So then it's just going to be an ongoing process, because I think the number is up to 3,300 people nationwide. If I said that's just one person per million Americans, and then identifying the first grouping of people. Let's just say I identify, 10 to 50 people that really want to get involved and maybe lead some teams, maybe regional teams, or I say, these 3 states, 5 states, kind of look at the population distribution and say, okay, Kathy, can you take care of, Southeast United States? And she's going to be like, well, what do you want me to do, Bobby? I'm going to be like, well, here's a list of people that have come in, contacted this project. Here they are. There's 30 of them. Please call them. Here's what we need to talk about, and just kind of distribute the problem. But then before I do this, I want to be sure that Kathy's going to do the work and she's serious. And so it's going to be almost like screening people, almost as though this is a job, because garbage in is garbage out. If I put the wrong people in charge of different things right out of the gate, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be upset because they're waiting to help and too much time has gone by. So I think the first leg is going to be to do that. So if you've linked up with me on LinkedIn, wonderful. I'm going to be reading everybody. I've started to put everybody into Excel and look at people's different skill sets, what their specialty is. And then if you don't have LinkedIn, but you want to get involved, I asked you to contact me on Telegram. Do that. And then what I would say is I'll probably ping you and say, can you send me a resume? I need to see what you have as your skill set. And now I've had people say, well, I didn't go to college. I don't have a strong math background. Doesn't matter. There's so much to do, and every single person's skills are necessary and needed for us to do this. So don't let that discourage you. We'll figure out where you can be of service to the country, as a patriot, that we're all in this together and we got to get this done. And I think it's going to be pretty cool, because once things open up more, since I'm self-employed and my wife is as well, I think it'd be kind of cool to get on the road, do a road trip later, and go visit all people in all these different states. I did a road trip maybe across 10, 20 states, maybe a decade ago, just for fun. I was gone for maybe 3-4 months. I had my little midlife crisis early. I just decided to stop working for a few years, and I was just disgusted with Wall Street. So people are asking me about, do I have any ties to the Rothschilds or something? No, I worked for a firm called Rothschild that was the second cousin, I think a cousin of the Rothschilds, and the owner of that firm is a second cousin. But they're not the wealthy Rothschilds. That's what I tell people. I'm like, they're only worth a couple hundred million or something, which is still a lot of money, but they weren't the ones that are worth, hundreds of billions or if not trillions of dollars. It's not the same Rothschilds, but they are, I guess, distantly related. But I have no affiliation with any of these folks. If anything, I think, I do think that some of these uber wealthy families, you've seen some of my posts on Telegram, they're part of the problem. And they become a larger and larger problem because we don't have leaders that understand math. They don't understand economics. They don't understand history. I don't know how we're not doing a better job of screening for these people. So hopefully, as this project gets going, when we create these frameworks and make it fully, transparent, and everybody has access to it, that's an American. We could maybe start creating ways of standardizing what we want in our leaders. And, I've had some people ask me if I want to run for office and such. I don't have any desire at all right now to run for office. I enjoy building. I enjoy building teams. I enjoy building process. I would much rather just try to fill in and build the infrastructure for great Americans that want to serve or run for office. They have a way to do it that doesn't make them beholden to scumbags. Let's just cut to the chase. I don't want them beholden to people that don't have Americans first attitude. It's not just America first, it's Americans first. I want Americans first policies. That's my biggest driver on doing all this. Obviously, national security is important. I talked about the 5 states that were suspect in this whole election. They're all major ports. Aside from us losing New York, California, and Illinois for years, all these states were absolutely critical to a takeover of this country by a foreign power. We had 3 major ports in Pennsylvania that bring in goods through the Great Lakes. We have the largest flow of goods through Michigan, which is, from Canada. We have the largest port in Wisconsin that also, I guess, is used by Minnesota, that distributes a lot of the goods that come from Europe through the Great Lakes and into the rest of the country, the heartland. And then you have the 4th largest port in the United States out of Savannah, Georgia. And Georgia is absolutely critical as well because a lot of stuff comes in through Georgia from South America. And then you have a situation where the largest flow of human beings comes from, in North America, comes through Arizona. And that's the state where, we have huge problems. And, it's kind of what brought me into this is Arizona. So I'm telling you all this because this whole project, I don't want it to, it's not a one and done type of thing. We're going to fill in the puzzle. I want you to imagine 1,000 or 5,000 piece puzzle. We're all going to be working on different sections of this puzzle. And I happen to love puzzles. And I've done, I can't seem to have anybody who wants to help me do a puzzle of Jackson Pollock. That one's sitting and and it's extremely complicated. And I've been trying to convince my wife and my kids to help me. Nobody wants to help me because it's so aggravating because it's literally just pull up a Jackson Pollock painting, you'll know. But I said the reason why I enjoy doing it is because, number one, you have to have incredible patience and persistence to kind of find what pieces make sense when it's all chaos. And I've been doing this, taking that approach on what's going on in the world to try to make sense of what's happening my whole career, for over 25 years. So this isn't new for me. I actually greatly enjoy it. It's very soothing. And I know that sounds crazy to a lot of people, but maybe this is why I pray so much, is to better understand what's taking place in the world around me. I get a lot of insights from prayer. I can feel everybody's prayers, believe it or not. So thank you very much. I can sense it, and I could feel when people are praying more for me than when they're not, which is pretty cool. It's a great feeling, and I hope you guys can feel when I pray back toward everybody who's helping and praying for not just for me and my family, but for the country. I think it's so important that we stay focused, stay optimistic. I know I can be a little harsh about, the state of things, but that doesn't mean that I don't believe that we're ultimately going to win, because God does win. I do strongly believe that. We outnumber Congress by 616,000 to 1. There's 535 of these jokers, and there's 616,000 of us for each one of them. That's unbelievable when you think of that number. Almost 1 million Americans for every one person in Congress that's causing all this grief. It's pathetic. And then we have, when you add in all the politicians across the country, there's about 47,000 of us for every one of the elected public officials. There's about 7,000. So I'm bringing that up because I don't think any political party really has our best interests at heart. None of them do right now. And none of them, as far as I've seen, have tried to attack the problem by showing the American people a giant puzzle. Like, here's what the whole thing looks like. Here's the board. What is going on with the board right now? And from my perspective, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. I know how to build massive data sets. I think people will see that pretty quickly. That once we get going, hopefully people. I'll even suggest different books people could read if they want to understand some of these concepts better. Different educational videos. There's so much free learning now. You could take classes through Khan Academy. There's classes, open courseware at MIT that are free. We've been sold a bill of goods that you need to spend all this money going to universities that basically are overrun by Bolshevik professors. These universities don't pay taxes. They keep buying up property, and they screw everybody in the community because everybody else is paying more of the freight charges. And these professors make $250,000, $500,000 or more. I remember somebody was telling me from graduate school, I can go teach. They asked me if I would consider teaching a class, University of Chicago, and I kind of thought about it, and and they said, well, if I get you in there, you can make $250,000 or $500,000 teaching a couple classes. And I'm sitting there thinking, that's insane. Like, why would me teaching one or two classes pay me that much? Now, don't get me wrong. I think my time's valuable, but that just doesn't seem fair. But then when you think about why that's happening, well, they don't pay any taxes. They have a massive endowment. They have, $5-10 billion, and they're crying, woe is me. Then these same institutions go and get money from our government because we have politicians that are too stupid to realize that that's not fair. And they somehow get sold a bill of goods. You say, wait a second. Why should you get any tax money? You didn't pay any taxes. What's so complicated about that? And you're sitting on billions of dollars. That's why I get so upset. I raise my voice at times, but I get upset because there's a disconnect between common sense and logic among the people that we're sending there. And I don't know if they're just that stupid and, or they just don't care, or if it's both. It reminds me of that scene from Casino. It's like, either they're in on the scam or they're too stupid to recognize the scam. And either way, they got to get the hell out. I don't know if you guys remember that scene, but that's how this feels. It's like you guys are letting us get ripped off week in, week out, day after day. And it's got to stop. So, okay. So the status, so let me kind of recap because I don't want to go too much longer. It's been 20 minutes. Thank you everybody who's staying online. And I want to try to do these. I'll try to keep them definitely under 30 minutes. I'll try to keep them closer to 10, 20 minutes. So this one's a little longer because it's my first one. I'm going to make sure I get everybody contacted that has sent in their information. If there's anybody from Kane County, Illinois, okay, Kane County, it's west of Chicago. that is interested and possibly working interning, I'm going to have to see about a budget. Maybe I'm going to see if I can raise some funds from some organizations, or do something where we come up with a business plan or a budget and say, look, this is what it's going to cost. I don't want to take $1 from any of this, but this is how much payroll is going to be to have 5 people working 20 hours a week, because we need some stability and some people doing it continuous. I understand volunteers might have 5 hours here, 10 hours there, and that's great, but we also are going to need some full-time people that are going to have to follow up with the volunteers, and you can't have that constantly be bouncing around. It's not going to work. And so when I said 5 to 20, basically I think I said 10 to 20 hours a month. So if people have, like let's just say 5-10 hours every 2 weeks, what is that going to mean? So let's talk about that real quick. I'm going to be able to, what I want to do is I'm going to break up the data, or I'm going to say, look, this state has these sets of data. You can, we're going to request this data. Then we're going to read what the voting laws are there. And if for people that don't know how to read, I'm sure we'll find some attorneys that volunteer some time to help us read what the election laws are for that state. Then we're going to go a little step further. We're going to read what the Constitution of that state is. And we're going to break it out like a problem. And we're going to spec it all out in Excel. And then we're going to have it open up for criticism by everybody who wants to look at it. I don't care if people aren't in the group and they want to look at what we're doing with the analysis and see what's working and what isn't. And as far as I'm concerned, if we do this work, I don't want to hoard it, okay? If I'm going to work for free and you guys are working for free as volunteers, and then we have some paid people, then why are we doing this? We're doing it for the benefit of the country. And as such, I don't want it to be proprietary. There'll be some things that will have to be proprietary for obvious reasons, but like how we're kind of computing some of the stuff with regards to, identifying who's a phantom voter and such. But the method to prove it out and how there's, what the categories are, that's all going to be publicly disclosed, period. And then, what are the nuances of the laws in each state? That's going to be disclosed to everybody, and then who are the elected officials, all 7,000 of them across the country. I want that all on the website. I think we should have it so that anybody could see it, period. End of discussion. If we're going to do this, let's do it right. Let's get a repository of all this information. Everybody sees what the heck is going on. It's screened, it's filtered, it's clean data. And then if somebody decides in the group, somebody else wants to look and run for office, and they're like, you know what? We're going to go over here and I already have the domains locked up, and I'll announce that later once the website's up and running. And, and it's going to be like, here's the data. And we have checks and balances in place. We have different sets of eyes from different states looking at other states. That's another big part of this. I want like Illinois to be looked at by sometimes people from California and sometimes people from Georgia or somebody from Mississippi. And then we're going to look at their data. And I think that's how we can harness all these different perspectives and identify the various scams, all the scams that they're running against us. Let's make sure we catch them. And so this is part of this process as well. We want to create better tools to catch them faster, and then know how to deal with them when we catch them. And, obviously this whole thing with regards to, problems in Arizona, we're going to find out about the Supreme Court tomorrow. All those things are drags, and they're slowing us down, but they're not going to stop us. We're not going to stop fighting. And that's just the way it is. And so, with that, if you see a phone number, I have 2 numbers I may call from, 312, and I also have a 630 number. If you don't recognize, I'm not going to give my number out. If I call you, please don't give my number out, because I don't want to be overwhelmed with phone calls. But what I will do is I'll try to communicate as effectively as I can, some of it through video. Ultimately, I'm going to have to get an email server built because I have another 500 plus volunteers that haven't been receiving emails from me because they blocked me. And so I paid for a service. They're blocking me, saying that what I say is dangerous. Google email, I think, has tagged me as spam and dangerous as well. This sucks, but this is the reality. So I have to think through creative ways to get a hold of people, because they're trying to do everything they can to stop and censor us. But this is what I will say is every single person from different states that has contacted me thus far has said there's some problems, period, in the process the way it is in those states. I haven't heard anybody say, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Not a single person. And maybe this is self-selection bias, because only people that are reaching out are the ones that believe this. But there's too many stories to ignore. And so I just want to point that out. And so with that being said, thank you all so much for stepping up and I guess us all working together. It's been an incredible experience to meet Americans from all around the country and hear all these great stories, and just about people's backgrounds and all the different things they're doing. It's exciting. I mean, it's exciting for me. And hopefully, as we kind of roll this out, you're going to meet a bunch of great Americans everywhere else, and in your respective state, your respective region. That's what we should try to do. And maybe we'll set up our own conference. There's all these other people doing these conferences. Maybe we set something up. And I don't want to make it so that it's for trying to make a bunch of money. We try to set it up so that it's affordable for everybody to go. And if you want to speak at it, I don't believe in this crap where you got to get paid $10,000-$20,000. You know what? There's plenty of talent that will volunteer time, and we'll find the Americans that want to volunteer some time, because everybody else is volunteering time. And I don't get goo goo gaga over any celebrities. You know what? I've dealt with a lot of people that are worth billions of dollars, hundreds of millions, everywhere in between. They're just like us at the end of the day. We all have a spirit that comes first. It's connected to God. We all have the same physiological body issues like everybody else. We have a heart, we have a brain. We all have the potential. Somewhere along the way, a lot of us have been lied to, misled, misguided, undermined. That's the reality. So what are we going to do to fix it? I think that hopefully, if we get this up and running and it works well, I think you guys are going to see what we're going to do to fix it. And not only are you going to see it, you're going to be part of creating it. I'm just helping. I'm going to help hopefully bring out the best in everybody who's involved, and you're going to help bring out the best in me. This goes both ways. So thank you so much. God bless everybody. God bless your family, your friends. I love all of you. And I hope you guys stay safe and stay optimistic. We are going to succeed and win. And may peace be with you. And if you don't have peace, I pray that you find it. And hopefully, maybe this project and meeting other people will help you find it. So God bless. And by the way, I think at 8:00 today, 8:30, I'll be doing my day one of 365 days of the Bible. So I made a decision. I'm going to go through the Bible over the next 365 days. I'll probably do my quick rosary or prayer sessions in the mornings, because I always start my day praying anyway. So now I'm just kind of doing it because a lot of people are saying it, they find it beneficial. And since I'm doing it anyways for myself and for my family and for the country, I figure I just, if people want to join in, great. But the Bible, I've read it over 2, 3, 5 years, like everybody else. I've never attempted to read it all in 1 year. And what I'll do is at 8:00, 8:30, I'm not going to read it out loud. I'm just going to kind of talk about some of the key principles, how they relate to what's going on in the world, and how it's from somebody who's in the markets and training as a mathematician and loves history. I'll explain how it ties into us as a nation, and maybe a little bit of the U.S. Constitution and such. So it's going to be a different approach. I'm not going to, it's not going to be pontificating it. And I got to tell you, it might be a little raw. I might be a little harsh about some of the players in our society that have done us harm, which is, once again, my wife thinks I'm Brim and Brim and Firestone or something, and I'm a little too critical, and people are wanting the religion for being uplifted. And what I'm saying is, I think we need a little bit of both. We should use religion to lift us up, but we also need to use religion to look at the fact that there's a lot of evil. We got to stand up to it. We should be upset. We should be pissed. And then the bigger question is, what are the tangible things we're going to do to change it? And that's my big focus. I never like to complain without coming up with a solution. I believe in constructive complaining and criticism, but then we need a solution. End of discussion. So with that, thank you so much. And then I guess I'll see you at 8:30 if you decide to join that broadcast. Otherwise, I'll see you soon. Thank you so much.